Here you are, pesky little thing. All right. This is the exciting, awkward moment. And it says we're live, but are we really? And by goodness, we are. All right. Very exciting. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Third Eye Salon. I'm Kat Udero, psychic empath and psychic wrangler. And before we see who I've wrangled into the show today, welcome. I hope you're doing good today. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for connecting with us. We're very happy you are here. And each and every show, we look between the veils of reality and we take a nice deep look. And today's no different. We're going to be looking between the veils of Lily Nova's Contactee experience as she moves from her astrophotographer passions and into her higher calling of being a cosmic channeler. So before we get into that, though, I'm going to switch my camera here to Brady Bunch style so that we are all in view. And let's toss the mic to my bestie, Linda Coulter-Burge. How are you, Miss Linda? Oh, I think you're muted, sis.
I'm muted. It would be better if I wasn't muted. Hey, everybody. I'm still waking up, getting my wonderful coffee in my wonderful Raven mug from Kat. Ooh, that looks kind of cool like that. Wow. Ooh, magical mug. As always, I'm going to be your live chat host, and my rule is simple: play nice or get out. We have so many wonderful conversations in our chat. Make sure if you have questions that you put the great big old question mark so I see it, and we will do our best to get it on the show for you, okay? So make sure you do that. If you like our shows, please hit that like button right away so more people see it, share it, and hit the subscribe button. Hit it so that the little black subscribe comes up, and then you won't miss one of our shows. And if you do, or if you want to hear it a different way, check us out on Apple and Spotify. And that's made possible because you guys have been wonderful buying us coffees to help donate to Third Eye Salon. So thank you for that. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, be sure to do that too, because the conversations continue there. And we just have such amazing support for all of our members, from our members in our group. Thank you, everyone who is part of that group and making it so beautiful. And with that, hello, Lily. I am really excited to talk to you. I've had a couple UFO experiences, and I want more. I want more.
It's addicting.
It's very addicting. It's very addicting. So I can't wait to hear how that journey has continued, and really want to learn more about your experiences with CE5 too, because I'm starting a group here for that.
Go, Linda. Wow. Who's a rock star? That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, let's hear about that. And hi, Angela.
Yep, let's say hello to Miss Angela Anderson. She's an artist, builder of custom motorcycles, former software engineer, and now shaman. Angela, how did you get the shaman title? What was that journey for you? Just real quick.
I don't even know. It's just been real transformational. That's the theme over the last 2 weeks, and so many shifts. And so I told a friend, I feel like I am a shaman, remembering that I'm a shaman. Like I'm just being moved into it, move down that path. So it's unfolding. I don't have all the answers right now. It's still unfolding. So I'm just kind of surrendered to the process. So this is where we are at this point. But I'm excited to learn more about Lily today. I've watched a few interviews on her story, and I'm just excited to see what more unfolds today.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, super excited. All right, I'm going to switch us back to speaker view while I get into Miss Lily's bio, and then we'll hop into all the questions we have brewing. So Lily Nova is a space and UFO photographer, ET contactee, psychic and cosmic channel. When COVID hit, she turned to the stars and spent every night capturing the night sky with her camera. Soon after, Lily had her first UFO encounter. UFOs began visiting her frequently, and she developed a special relationship with these otherworldly beings. They taught her secrets of the universe, spirituality, how to make contact with them, and how to develop psychic abilities. Lily now uses her gifts to share messages and teachings from these higher realms on social media and helps others discover their star origins and special gifts through readings and coaching calls. Lily is dedicated to sharing her findings and experiences with the world, being a bridge between the earth and the stars, teaching and inspiring others. Lily also offers star origins readings to help others grow, discover their cosmic origins and beings they are connected with, aka their star family, and receives guidance that will help them most on their journey. Lily also offers one-on-one Starseed Coaching and CE5 Consulting sessions, there you go, Linda, to help others on their Ascension journey and to connect with others with their cosmic family. And we've got all of Lily's links below, of course. So give us a thumbs up if you're excited to hear about what Lily has learned from her star families. I know we are all chomping at the bit. And before we get to that, though, Miss Lily, I wanted to kind of I like to pull the guests back so we kind of understand their journey. And tell us about little Lily and like growing up and who you were then, kind of in your experiences then, just so we have an understanding of you as a person.
Mm-hmm. So I grew up being an artist. I spent a lot of time drawing and writing. I was always intuitive and empathic. So I kind of went like against the grain on a lot of things, preferred like a small circle. So that was basically me all through school. And then I got into nutrition. That was kind of my introduction to, well, let's just say how corrupt the world can be with the, nutrition and health organizations and all of that. And so I was very passionate about, mental health, nutrition. And I made that, my mission to help others be able to eat healthy, because I realized, the stuff that they're putting in the food and just food in general, just having a lack of education of it, can cause depression and anxiety and even reduce IQ and all of these things. And it just made me sick. So that became my passion. And then whenever COVID hit, I got into astrophotography, and then the UFOs came. So that's just kind of like a quick background.
Yeah, that's a quickie. Well, you had said to me in our pre-show chat that you had always been somebody who wanted to come into self-actualization as a child. So I feel like that's a key trademark of you. Would you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I've always been into, just being the best version of myself that I could. And I've never been afraid to look deeper. I always wanted to look deeper. If something happened, I always ask, okay, why did that happen? And what can I do to change it or make it better? And actually, when I was 18, I was working at a restaurant, and there was a guy sitting at the table, and he randomly was like, "Hey, I'm a psychic. Can I read your palm?" And I was like, "Sure." This is before I knew anything. And he told me, "You have the rare ability to reach self-actualization and reach the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs." And that just really stuck with me. So that's what I think that ability is becoming less and less rare. We're all doing it right now. But at the time. So then I just kind of, I don't know, that's always been deep-seated goal.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like you came in with the mission to wake up. Even though it was called self-actualization, it's like, it's waking up, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like you came in with that as a drive. So maybe I think that's a really beautiful starseed blessing, because so many early starseeds came in and they didn't wake up. They had the abilities, they had the connection, but they fell asleep in this dreamy, thick, soupy world of density. And you came in with a fire that said, "Nope, I'm gonna wake up." And that's how I interpret that.
Yeah. And I've always been drawn to space and the stars, always. So, and what else is out there? I wasn't a UFO person or anything, but that's just always really called to me. I've always been very curious about it. So that played a key part as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I wanted to just kind of talk in on the before we get into the star aspect, I guess the nutrition part to me is key as well, because epigenetics is something that you became interested in because of once you started to learn about nutrition. Would you explain kind of what's your understanding of how that works?
Mm-hmm. So while I was in school for dietetics, I came across epigenetics. And so that was like a new emerging science of being able to like turn your certain genes on and off, and basically better decide who we're going to be. Because, you know, in school, a lot of people would say, or well, I found out it wasn't, but a lot of people say, you know, it's in my genes, so I'm going to have heart disease, or I'm going to do, you know, this because it runs in my family. And I found that that's not that's not really true. That has a very small percentage to do with it, but that just really caught my attention, and I was really drawn to that. And it was just 11:11. Where I'm at. So that just really drew my attention, sparked my interest. I thought about going into that field, mixing nutrition and how it affects your genes and your DNA. And then fast forwarding a little bit, the star beings, that was the major thing that they began telling me was DNA. So then it's like, that's why I felt so called to it before, because it really is, I believe, the most important thing. Yeah. And I've always been interested in the science of consciousness, you know, like mental health, just how you can program yourself to be the best version of yourself, or, you know, explore all of that. So that's what I began studying. Well, was always studying mental health and nutrition. And before the UFOs started coming, that's what I was studying, was the science of consciousness. And that opened, you know, like began to pave the way to understanding.
Were you into Dr. Joe Dispenza?
A little bit, yes. Yeah, actually, yeah. He was one of the people who introduced me to, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically where you visualize, you reprogram your brain by visualizing, you know, your whatever you want to experience, and you train your brain, because you can, being like negative can be a habit, or being, you know, whatever you are, it just becomes a habit. So I just found that really fascinating. Like, oh, people aren't stuck that way. I'm not stuck this way. You can change it. So yes, Dr. Joe Dispenza. And then I think her name's Mel, maybe, the blonde woman. She's really big into that. I can't remember her name exactly, but yes.
Oh, Linda, you know who this is. It's the one who, I think it's the one who you high five yourself in the window.
Yes.
Or in the mirror.
Yes, and I'm drawing a blank. So
Okay. She had yeah, anyway, we know who she is.
I want to go back. Can we go back real quick to
hop in.
Like the epigenetics and that whole line of learning is a similar path that I followed, only I entered nutrition by way of weightlifting. So I started with the fitness path that went to the nutrition path. And I think that's such a critical path, because along those lines, once you get into epigenetics and learning the work of Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza, you learn that you are in control of your own well-being. We possess more power than we think we have. It's like a societal programming where you are programmed to believe that it's your doctor's responsibility to be responsible for your health and well-being. Well, where it's your own responsibility. It's like an acquiescence of power to think that it's somebody else's job to take care of you and support you and tell you what's wrong with you, when you have that innately built within, and you have the ability to control that by way of your diet. And if you get in tune with the body will let you know what it needs, when it needs it, and when it needs rest, when it needs water, how much it needs, because every person is different. What you'll find is people try to follow a cookie cutter model.
It's being sold to them. It's being sold.
You need this many cups of water a day. You need this many times. you need to eat this many times a day. You need these portions from these food groups. Well, everybody is different. And what I found is I worked out all those years, like being so regimented in my weightlifting routine and my running routine. And what I found is I lost more weight in the last 2 years, or last year, really, doing nothing but going out and connecting with nature and taking a really slow walk. I dropped all that stuff, dropped all the weightlifting, all that regimented stuff, because I was holding myself to this standard of what it had to be, which was not working for me personally. It wasn't until I connected with what worked for me personally, which is simply connecting with nature and understanding my body will attune itself as I allow it, as I get out of the way with my preconceived notions and beliefs that are stuffed down by what we are inundated with on a daily basis. So I think that's a critical piece of understanding who we are and taking our power back as sovereign divine beings.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That was really well laid out. I want to piggyback on that and just say real quick is that, like, and not knowing what your body does, like not understanding the organs of your body, like going to the doctor, like you were saying, and being like, oh, the doctor knows, like the doctor's responsible for my body. And it's just like, and it's like, no, the doctor's not responsible. This is yours, it's yours. It's a relationship. Like, have a relationship with your body. It's a being.
It is. It's the consciousness. Yes, it is consciousness. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Here. All right, then I kind of want to, you've talked about this in a lot of your other interviews, so I kind of want to just kind of give a little thumbnail sketch of, you starting to connect with the beings. So I'm going to just do that, and then you can give me any corrections, but it's basically that like you said, you got your camera at night, you started doing the photography, and you started to see ships, and you couldn't deny it, and you actually started to like record yourself, and we're going to see some of those pictures later today, and then it started to evolve into like a communication where it wasn't just seeing them. It's like, oh, there's something happening. And if you would start like kind of pick up the thread to that point and correct if I got anything wrong in my little synopsis.
No, yeah, that's perfect. So yeah, I started astrophotography, and then suddenly UFOs began popping up, and then nobody believed me, of course. So I'm like, well, I'm going to capture evidence of them. And so I started recording them, and they were just popping up left and right. I think I saw like 14 of them in the matter of 2 weeks. So I was like, there's something going on here. Like they're like, even MUFON, which is Mutual UFO Network. They're like the biggest UFO organization investigators. Like I reached out to them because I had no idea what was going on, and they were kind of alarmed. They're like, your situation is very peculiar. And they had asked me if I'd been abducted. I'm like, no, not that I don't have a history of this. This just started. And they made it clear that they were friendly. It's like they were easing me into in kind of an introduction. I knew that they had a message for me. And as time went, I just started documenting them, and kind of a communication began to develop. And they would speak to me through signs and synchronicities too. Like I would be on a walk at night one night after seeing them, and I just started talking up to the sky. I didn't know if they could hear me. And ask them like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to share this footage? Like, why are you here? And that's what they wanted me to do. I would get like an answer like immediately after in some way, or I'd get like an intuitive hit. And so my intuition began developing a lot at this point. And so a relationship evolved, and eventually I tried making contact with them instead of them just popping up randomly while I was out. I intentionally made contact with them, and within 5 minutes of setting that intention, a golden orb appeared. And luckily I had somebody there with me to witness it. But this golden orb appeared, and it was the most amazing thing that I've ever experienced. It's just mind blowing. I didn't know who these beings were yet. And that night, So this golden orb appeared, and it wasn't like too far away. It was moving around, and it sent me a telepathic vision of the inhabitants, or who is controlling this golden orb. And the woman, it was a woman with light blue skin, and she had like a silver gray skin tight space suit on. She had no hair. She was very beautiful, but she looked very human, basically just a bald woman with light blue skin. And yeah, that blew my mind. So I just wanted to learn more. And I began, that's when I began meditating and began initiating contact with them. And as I initiated contact with them on a daily basis, I began receiving more like full messages from them. And while I'd be out initiating contact with them, I would just feel this like overwhelming love, and it would make me cry. Honestly, the love that I felt from them was so pure, and beautiful. And then I began meditating and receiving visions and developing my psychic abilities, and they helped me to do that.
When you were connecting with the blue woman, because I mean, to me, this sounds like a coming home moment, you know, where it's like you as a fractal of your star family in this mission, in this density. It's always these beautiful moments where the families are able and to connect on a conscious level. I think we do it unconsciously probably, but on a conscious level, it's so healing. Did they reveal to you like anything about your identity or their identity, you know, other than, you know, them being humanoid blue, you know, looking people? Like, did they give you any insight as to your family origins?
So they really gave me little pieces at a time. And some of this stuff I had to figure out myself. Some of the stuff they told me, I think they were giving me, like, I didn't find out that I was a starseed and that this was my star family until after that, like, or around that time. So they really gave me little pieces at a time. And yeah, then I found out that they were my star family, and I bawled my eyes out. Because like, what? I have a family. I've got a family up there. And then I found out later that they were Lyrans. So they kind of gave me little pieces to the puzzle at a time. And then after I found out that they were from Lyra, then the communication with them amped up, and I began working closely with them. That's what I did every day. All last summer, I was doing that every day. And yes, every time I even think of that being, it gets me emotional. It really does feel like, to describe the feeling, seeing these beings feels like being home. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, and you're working with them. I kind of want to do a sampler platter of all the beings you're working with, but I want to swim in each pond for a while, in each sample. So you're saying that you're working more directly with the Lyrans, and I'm wondering because you know they revealed to you, and I know that it was revealed to you internally, externally. It's one of those things we chatted about before, was, you know, their evolution, and their from where they were on their planet to where they are now, and the whole interference that happened with the reptilian beings. And so I kind of wanted to look at that with you under the focus of their work with you, and why is this important? You know, why is what their work with you is about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the Lyrans, and more recently, I've been working more closely with Pleiadians and beings from Andromeda galaxy, actually. So those are the new ones that I'm working with. The Lyrans, they like all last summer, I was in what I call boot camp, where they were teaching me every day, and they were teaching me lessons. I was developing my skills. And they taught me about spirituality. They taught me that we were all one. Like, I knew that we all came from the same source, but I didn't fully understand, like, we literally are all one. So it's just like a deeper level of understanding, and then we're all connected. And so these beings, you can even connect with these beings who are outside of the solar system or even in another galaxy, because we're all connected through consciousness. And I don't know exactly how it works, but I know that I can, send a message out and then meditate, and you can definitely get a response or a communication with these beings, no matter where they're at. And healing was a big part of the journey as well. They showed me things and that, like old traumas, for example, even from past lives, like with the reptilians, things that were still affecting me to this day. An example would be, I was out on a jog one night, and the beings from Sirius, which I also have a connection with Sirius, I just randomly got like a ping. They were there. I just knew that they were there. And then suddenly I got flooded with like a spontaneous past life regression and I closed my eyes. Like I just suddenly felt all of these emotions. I closed my eyes and I saw a vision of a woman burning at the stake in old England, old English times. And they told me that this was a past life of mine. And by the way, I didn't know if reincarnation existed before this. So I got like the crash course in all of this. But so this was a past life of mine where I was a healer and new age, but in like old England, and they burned millions of women and people for being a witch at this time. And I spoke with the angelic realm in this life too. So they killed me for it. And it was something that was still affecting me today in my my throat chakra. It made me afraid to speak my truth, and it made me afraid to be who I truly am. So that was a lot of the training too, like just getting rid of all of the old stuff that was holding me back and peeling like the layers of an onion of like who I'm not and what doesn't define me to, unleash what does. So so that was a majority of the work. And I know that's what a lot of us have, a lot of trauma, unfortunately. But that's a big part of it, the healing. And as we heal, it's like, our true selves can come out. And then also the DNA activation, activating your innate gifts. They've taught me that we all have, unique genetics, unique heritage from different star systems. So we have all of these crazy cool gifts that we don't even know about, that are just waiting to be activated.
One place my mind just went is how trauma impacts the genetics, and that like being able to clear your trauma is where is part of the whole personal upgrade. And yeah, what would you want to say about that?
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I've been recently thinking about that more. The people that I'm teaching, and that I've had some calls with some people, and through the Sunday live activations that I do, the people who are having really profound experiences and breakthroughs, they're doing work. They're like digging into what what may not be the prettiest thing, and that just put two and two together for me in a new level of understanding that the trauma can physically affect your body from generations ago. So yeah, that's a big part of it.
Yeah. And it feels like what I was tuning into is just how there's this concerted effort to limit our frequency. And it's like through food, through trauma, through programming, like all of these, very seemingly our norm, the things that we consider normal, is just like loaded with toxins to keep us in a specific density. I see that Jillian has a question, and so I'll get to Jillian's question. But then I also want to talk to you about just to kind of share your experience on Lyra, your memory, just so people, have that to touch into. For those of you who didn't watch the pre-show snippet. But Miss Jillian Leonard asks, I'm wondering what it felt like for you to process that these experiences were real and actually happening. Were you in awe or any apprehension at first, or was it familiar enough though it was new? Was it familiar even though it was new?
A combination. there were, I definitely had to pinch myself sometimes because I'm like, is this really happening? It's so crazy. It really is. But then it feels so right. It feels like truth. Like for me, I know it's true whenever I just feel my heart swell and I get emotional. Then I'm like, I know that it resonates. And I also began having experiences with like angels, and I even saw Jesus and other things. So all of these, it's all connected. But yeah, then everything began to make sense of why, I was like that growing up, or why I've always felt this way. I was just drawing Lyrans whenever I was 6 years old, and I didn't know that that's what I was drawing, little cat people. So yeah, it made sense. I definitely had to pinch myself at times because it can be pretty crazy. But what I'm finding is so many others are having experiences like this, and I know a lot more are about to.
Yeah. Oh gosh, you're saying so much. Just want to hop in, but Miss Linda, I know.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. We were talking in the side about the state of mind when you first encountered them and when you encountered them. I know when I did, it was just this, I was just in this state. I wasn't trying to do anything. I was just in this state of real gratitude and joy in both times. That it was just, one was a meteor shower and I was just in awe.
Wow.
And just in absolute bliss watching it. And then the other time I was driving back from my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, and it went so well and I was so happy, and literally was told to drive back around out of the way to where they had their celebration. And it was above where their celebration was.
Wow.
And so that state of being when you were first doing it and now, can you talk more about where you are with that? And then I have a follow-up question.
Yeah, so that's a really, really good point. It has a lot to do with frequency and where your vibration's at. And so the first few times, I know they had to really like come down to lower their frequency to, communicate with me. And they trained me with that, raising my frequency. But yes, whenever I started doing CE5, it's like I would try to make contact with them, and then they wouldn't show up until I got into a blissful state. And for me, the blissful state, or like a flow state, where you're just in the flow, you're like channeling that, your higher self has the wheel. I would start taking pictures of the sky. I started shooting sunset, and that's something that I noticed. Is I'd go out with my camera and I'd be like, all right, where are you guys at? And I'd be talking to them. I wouldn't feel anything. And then as soon as I busted out my camera and started enjoying the sunset and, relax, then I would get like a ding. Oh, they're here. So yeah, that's a very good point. And then also meditation can help, and just being outdoors can help. Stargazing can help. Like Angela was saying about being outside a lot, it really does help to harmonize your body. But yes, they're very high vibe, and we have to raise our vibration to kind of meet them.
I think there's a part in that too where you have to get past the trying and the wanting.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably part of my block, is it's like, oh, I want it again so much, versus just being in that place of the joy and appreciation. Mm-hmm. And wherever you are, just being present and loving it, I think is more the frequency versus, hey, I'm here, come on. Which I think a lot of us get into. I know it's like, okay, where are you?
Even right me here. Sometimes. Yeah, even me sometimes. They've showed me, they would kind of show me like different lessons of the universe. It really has to do with the law of attraction. If you're trying too hard, you're like, making it further from you. Right. It's really wild. It has a lot to do with the law of attraction.
The other side of that is the expectation of how it should come. Mm-hmm. So you have a preconceived notion of how you believe it must come to you. I'm not so visual. I feel. So I can sense and feel when there's a present in the room. It's like a wind, almost like I can reach out and touch something that feels almost palpable, but I can't see it. but I can feel it. I can feel that presence as much as I would touching my computer. I can feel it in that way. I just can't see it visually. So you can hold it off by assuming it should come to you in a visual way rather than getting into the heart. That's the focus. Getting into the heart and allowing yourself to feel that presence.
Such a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes for everything intuitive. That's so, sometimes we expect it to show up a certain way. And, if you looked around, it's like, we're right here. I'm right here.
That goes back to beliefs, because the world can't respond to you beyond the boundary of your own belief. You set the tone for what can manifest within your reality. So if you hold yourself to a certain definition of how something must be, then of course, being the deliberate creator that you are creating that setup for it to come to you in that way, releasing the bounds, releasing the belief, or releasing that attachment to that expectation of how something must be, opens you up to the limitlessness of how reality can manifest before you.
100%. And I'd like to add, just like what Angela was saying, being able to like feel something that comes in the room. A lot of the time they can be there with you and you just don't even see them. I've had things in my room move before. And I've had orbs come up behind me while I was doing the live activation. They can come in many different ways. It doesn't have to be visually. Their presence can, you can feel it. And if you suddenly feel like your heart may feel emotional, may feel love, that's a good sign that they are, nearby.
I do have a follow-up question that kind of goes with Kat's original question, and that is, were you aware and interested in the galactic beings and being able to identify where they were from before or after your encounters? Like, and how did you make that connection? Like, how do you know somebody is from a certain area?
So it actually after the UFOs started coming, and it was really, at first it was more about the hard physical evidence and seeing them, like all the physical stuff, and documenting them, and how are they appearing, the kind of the science of it is the lens I was going through. And then I started coming across Starseed stuff and other channelings, and I'm like, no way, there can't just be a whole underground community that knows exactly what these beings look like and where they're from, and nobody knows about it. But that happened to be the case. So at first I was like, that kind of sounds like fantasy. But then after I started actually seeing them, I was like, holy crap, that really is them. And that's what they look like. So it was kind of like a combination of seeing them and then also like, oh, that really is a Pleiadian. They told me they're from Pleiades, and that's what they really look like. So then I got more into that. But I've seen a lot of beings that I don't even know where they come from. There's so many. There's a big variety.
Yeah, I know that in your channeling work, when you've been working with your clients, it's opened your door to seeing more beings than the ones that were just contacting you, since we're from all over the place and there's so many different variations. Speaking of which, just to get back to Lyra real quick, or Lyra, it's Lyra, Lyran, Lyra. All right, so to just speak on that experience that you had to heal there, what had happened?
Yeah, so Lyra was like the first connection. Well, the first I felt really drawn to the star Sirius, which could be a good tip for anybody if you want to look up at the night sky and see if there's anything that like really calls you. And then Lyra was my next one that I discovered. And so this past Christmas Eve, I was like in a hotel room, I was on a trip, I was doing my makeup, and then just suddenly the same thing happened where I had a spontaneous regression. I'd been, I could feel them there, was kind of communicating with them, and then suddenly just whoosh, I was back in Lyra in like the old days, way back. This is, Lyra is the original planet where all of the humanoids came from, the original constellation where the human figure comes from, and then they spread out throughout the galaxy. Apparently, reptilians came from another universe, and they attacked Lyra, and I got to like feel and experience that firsthand again during that spontaneous regression, where like my eyes were open. I was doing my makeup, and suddenly I just get hit with these emotions, and I was like, oh my God, what's happening? And I could see it even though my eyes were opening. It opened explosions, death, catastrophe, and a reptilian being had come up to me and striked me down. And so I relived it for a moment. And, they told me again, like with the witch thing, that this was something that was a deep wound that was still affecting me. And that's where like my trust issues stemmed from, because these, the Lyrans, they had never dealt with catastrophe or backstabbing or anything like that before. Nothing like that had ever happened. The reptilians came and, they said that they needed some resources. They acted friendly. They put up a front, and then they came and slaughtered a lot of them. So if you are Lyran, which a lot of us have connections with Lyra, there's probably that deep wound if you were there during that time or even afterwards, because the war, what's going on right now, stems back from Lyra, and affects the whole galaxy, the whole universe even. So if you have connections with Lyra, you may have, some old trauma from that is still affecting you today. Yeah. And it just felt like a big weight lifted off of my shoulders. And that's when I really realized, some of this stuff may sound kind of like fantasy, like reptilians and stuff, but like I literally re-experienced it and felt it and saw it. It's real.
Yeah, and it's not like you have an agenda to have that as your experience. Like, oh, I want to be from Lyra, you know what I mean? Like you're just open, and it just spontaneously happened as it was time to cleanse and clear itself. And I'm wondering, what is because you have a connection to Lyra, the Arcturians, Pleiadians. And so, the way that I experience it, I'll put how I experience it, then I'll want to get your take on it. Is that somehow we are an amalgamation, well, it's through our genetics, but we're an amalgamation of all these different star races. And because our genetics are not, they are physical, but they're metaphysical as well. They're beyond the physical. They're portals, it's what I get from it, that connect us to this greater realm that we, barely understand. Like, how is it that we can be connected to so many beings and be one being? That's where the question kind of boils down to.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good question.
Like we have a mom and a dad here, right? Like they have genetics, but like how does that look on the star side?
Yeah. So it has more to do with energy, my understanding of it. It's like we have like physical genetics, and then we also have like a spiritual genetics or spiritual energy. That's my understanding of it, because like I've met other people who are from Lyra, and their energy just feels familiar. They have an energy about them, or if they're Arcturian, they have an energy about them. So I believe that's how it's kind of just something that, affects your energy in a metaphysical way that we can't see, and it just continues to. And then we also have like the physical genetics as well. It's very complex. The universe is so complex.
So you're like so real quick, our spiritual self has connections on the other, into the other planets on the other side. I guess you could incarnate into all these different planets, therefore your soul is connected to them, so you have like a catalog of worlds you're connected to on a soul level.
Yeah, I believe so.
Miss Angela?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I believe, it's my belief, that we are an amalgamation, like you said, of all these star beings, these star races, these star nations. And it comes down to what we have allowed ourselves to enter into resonance with. So if we've allowed ourselves to enter into resonance with that Lyran energy, then we feel more drawn to that Lyran aspect. But realistically, we are connected to all races, right? Because all of them lent their DNA, that galactic DNA, to the creation of the human that was placed on Earth, so that we could be a conduit that could go between, that we could become galactic beings, right? But it comes down to what you have allowed yourself to come into resonance with that dictates what you are able to feel, able to communicate. Yeah, that you are drawn to. But yeah, we have connections to all. It just comes down to that. Yeah. So that trauma that you spoke about related to the Lyrans and that war with the reptilians, we all carry to some degree that trauma within ourselves that we have to learn to balance, because all of it has lent itself to the creation of us. And we have to do that trauma work. And even when you work through that specific trauma, then there are the traumas that are the result of the physical DNA lineage that you have to work through as well. So it's layered. The trauma, the work of resolving those traumas and bringing the human vessel back into balance. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of damn work. Linda, what did you want to say?
Well, and I've been really, with everything that's going on, and there's so much trauma happening at this time, and which is, a cycle. We've been through trauma in this planet before, and we will again. But I think part of that is us coming here. I think that's a big part of it, of not bypassing, even though that's what we really want to just kind of bypass that trauma, but working through that as part of this process in this plane. And I think that's part of why we come here. And so I'm thinking not just past lives, but if we bring all of that into an eternal now, and those are happening simultaneously, and we are all part of one, we're all creating this healing process for the whole on this planet. Like, we have come here, and it's not an easy ride that we've chosen to be on, or rides, because it's multiple, right? I think that's a lot of the purpose of being here. And this spot is that healing for the entire for everyone. What is that? I mean, how do you feel about what I just said?
I've been told that what happens here and what's happening here is affecting the whole universe. So I agree with that 100%. And we're very brave that's why there's a lot of eyes on Earth too. But we're very brave for coming here and doing this work.
And for those that, I guess, are there words for those that either are listening or who have people in their lives that just are not able to deal with that trauma, or are not willing to face it, or are willing to be in it and not work through it?
So, I mean, I've learned lessons pretty hard of trying to tell people what to do and how to heal, and trying to kind of control that. I'm like, well, I know what's wrong with you. You just need to do this, think this way, or whatever. And that backfired really badly. So my approach, and even trying to tell people that UFOs exist, or what I found is inspiring people, being an example and inspiring others. And also, your light is contagious. So my light just affects those around me without me even doing anything. So if you work on yourself, it's going to automatically spread.
I think that's always what it comes back down to, is you can only maintain yourself. And gosh, if somebody wants to careen into the side of a building, you can hold space so they can do it, but you can't stop them from doing it.
Yeah, I think it's good to note that to kind of demystify what trauma is, or what that resolution of trauma really is. And really, at a base level, it's allowing yourself to see the truth of a thing, to see the truth of what it really was through the eyes of love, seeing the blessing that came out of an event versus holding yourself in a state of victimhood over what occurred in an event. The strengths that you were able to carry forward, the blessing that you were able to carry forward is assisting you in resolving and reframing that particular event that served to imprint on you the perspective of trauma, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like awareness is like 90% of the work, just becoming aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's where all the damn stillness comes in, because once you're still, then you start to become aware and you have to practice the stillness. Well, I wanted, what's that?
I said it's a process.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
and for some of us, it's harder because of being a fixer, right? I mean, my whole life I was paid to fix things. And sometimes it's like the fixing is just holding space
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
allowing them their journey.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
But it's liberating once you get there.
It is
On the
also
other
liberating.
side, on
It
the other
is
side.
also
All the
liberating.
pressure off, all the pressure off, and you can allow yourself to be you, authentically
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
focusing
So
on
for all you fixers out there like me,
There's hope for you too.
hope for us.
Well, I wanted to ask you, you've said so much, Lee, like you just dropped little bombs along the way where I'm like, oh, that one and that one. But I wanted to kind of get one of, if you can maybe give us a sense of how the star nations feel different to you. And maybe that's a good kind of educational point for other people as they're tuning into the ETs. How does a Pleiadian feel different from an Arcturian and an Arcturian from a Syrian, for example?
I'll try to explain it.
Okay.
So whenever I see the Pleiadians, I automatically feel like compassion and love. Like it's like a warm, compassionate feeling. Their energy really feels compassionate. They're very spiritual beings. They're very closely connected with humanity. They look very similar to us, usually Nordic with blonde hair, blue eyes. I've seen some with brown hair as well. But yeah, they just feel kind of like warm and compassionate, like they really understand and feel for us. And the next one that comes to mind are the Octarians. They are like among the most technologically advanced in our galaxy. So they're very intelligent, very advanced, and their energy feels a little bit more mellow. And they also have like bigger eyes and bluish skin and a little bit bigger of heads. They often wear like robes. So I think also looking at pictures of them actually can really help you kind of get a feel for their energy drawings. But they feel more kind of like reserved, very intelligent, and very peaceful, just very wise beings, if that makes sense. And then Lyrans, kind of, they taught me a lot about spirituality. And there's also like a bunch of different subcategories with like the Lyrans. They're the feline beings, like a peaceful warrior, kind of gives off the vibe of the feline beings, protectors, warriors. And the blue Lyrans that I worked with just felt spiritual and very loving, but also they were my star family, so I just cried like a baby every time I saw them. But they all feel like love, that's most of them.
And then like who are the Syrians then? Because I feel like the Syrians are like an amalgamation. I mean, I'm sure there's amalgamations everywhere, because again, it's just like on down below, as above, so below, in terms of spreading out in families.
Yeah, the Syrians. So the Syrians have a bunch of different types of, and honestly, I haven't seen a Syrian in a little while. But they have, I saw them a lot in the beginning. And there's some that look very human, like us. They may have a little bit bigger eyes. There's some with elongated elongated heads, their energy feels a little bit more like cool and direct, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Cool and direct. But there's a ton of different types of beings on Sirius. There's even like, some like reptilian hybrids, because there are benevolent, positive reptilian beings as well. I see a lot the ones with the elongated skulls, and some that look very human, but a big variety. Oh, also aquatic beings. So that's where the dolphins come from and the whales.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's
I did not know that.
Yeah, there's aquatic planets there too. If you ever felt really drawn to mermaids, you could have been a mermaid on Sirius.
We've had some people who've been on the show that have been like they have mermaid experience, like memories.
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
So that's cool to connect that to. I mean, I know it's just like the mind is so hungry for like these details, but it is fascinating. I feel like it's also inspiring where it's like, oh, think of a world where I could be a merman, but you know what I mean? Like it would just be just the idea of those possibilities are so liberating from what we have here. At least.
Yeah, and I feel like I don't want to put like or encourage like labels like, oh, you're Syrian, so this and like I don't. That's not what it's about. Discovering your star origins and connecting and just awakening to this, it's very empowering, and then it begins to make sense. Like, oh, that's why I was so drawn to mermaids. It wasn't just my imagination. I've been one before, and it also just piques the curiosity and your creativity. So it's more about that for me, not to put like labels or try to put anybody in boxes.
To not get attached to an identity. Hop in, Linda.
So you do this as a, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it also dispels the fear around that whole contact experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
nice.
That's a big one.
Yeah, you do this as a service. What is that process like when somebody hires you to do that, to get in touch with their?
Great question.
So how I do is I will meditate for an hour. Like I'll get some information from the client and I'll meditate for an hour before that. And I receive a lot of my information through visions. And so I'll connect with like their guides, my guides. Sometimes their star family comes through and they'll show me, I could see snippets of beings that they're connected with, their origins, and then whatever is most needed for them to know, whatever will help them most on their journey is what I ask. So a variety of different things can come up, connections that they have. Like sometimes people have a connection with ancient Egypt and they're like, oh, that's why I was obsessed with Egypt growing up, and things like that. So then after I meditate for an hour, I usually write a page of notes from what I see and messages that I receive. And then I talk with them on a 45-minute to 1 hour Zoom call, and we discuss.
What have been some of the things, I'll just piggyback on that. What have been some of the things that came through that you were like, I'm sure it must be almost like a little educational course as you do this, because you're picking up information that you didn't read it anywhere. You're picking it up for the first time. So I'm wondering what's the highlight reel of some of the stuff that you were like, oh my God, I didn't know, or oh this, oh that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it really is like I'm learning more as I go and just seeing, everybody's connections. Sometimes trauma comes up a lot, like, if there's something that I'll see, like for one example, I saw a Pleiadian life where their ship had been attacked, and it happened to be by reptilians. And whenever I told this person, she just like belted out like crying, because it just automatically like resonated and like it took her right back to that. So sometimes like traumas like that come up. I find it fascinating. I've discovered like inner Earth, and I've seen visions of inner Earth, so I discovered that that's real. And there are long necked dinosaurs down there, at least one. So just kind of bits and pieces like that. I've seen like Saturn through these visions. There's some very important things going on Saturn. I don't know to the extent, but there's a lot of things going on in our actual solar system that I've been learning as I go, with the moon and it being actually like hollow and a base. So I'm just kind of like picking up pieces to the puzzle. And what I'm finding is a lot of these people, especially lately, like this past week or the past couple weeks, I'm finding that people's star families and the Pleiadians and members of, you know, the Galactic Federation and whatnot are getting more hands-on with people. Like they showed me a vision of ships all in the sky. We just can't see them. They're cloaking somehow and they are nearby, like very nearby. And through the readings the past week, I'm finding, oh, you have literally a ship that is like watching over you and helping you activate right now. And they're close by. So that's been coming through more lately. It's like we are like the inside beings, the inside job. They're helping us from the outside, and then we're on the inside, but it's like we're still a part of their crew. We're just beginning to remember it.
Yeah, we're like the finger in the pie, like you know, like we're here in it, but we're part of something much greater, much bigger. What did they show you? What did you learn about inner Earth? Because that's a personal point of fascination for me. I had a dream as a child about inner Earth, you know, like as a 4-year-old.
Really?
So yeah, so I'm wondering what you had learned.
That's exciting. Inner Earth is something that I want to look into more, but a few points. So they showed me like the first thing I got about inner Earth. They've shown me a lot of tunnels leading down. So inner Earth is very important. I've seen so many tunnels. There are a lot of underground bases, and there's just a lot going on down there. They've shown me an ancient Native American site. I'm not sure if we talked about this, Cokia Mounds, which I live right by. It's the oldest city in North America, very ancient. The Native Americans were there. They've showed me visions of the Native Americans with the Lyrans and Pleiadians. They're with them, and the Pleiadians and Lyrans had like a base underground, and the Native Americans were like working in the field and just doing their thing. And Cokia Mounds vanished without a trace. Nobody knows. It's a mystery where all of these people went. It was the biggest city. And my first vision of inner Earth, I came in contact with inner Earth beings, and they looked Native American. They had like red energy and were very Native American. And I was like, wait, but these are inner Earth beings, but they're Native American. And so the star beings took a lot of the Native Americans underground with them, which just makes me so happy because the Native Americans were so beautiful. They were very close, you know, with the star beings, very spiritual. And, you know, it sucks what happened to them, but they took a lot of them down.
Yeah, it's nice that some of them got to be spared the horrors of the surface world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I've seen long neck dinosaurs down there.
And are these dinosaur beings or actual dinosaurs?
An actual long neck dinosaur.
Okay. Like the vegetarian one, the one that's long neck and he.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And it looked, I believe that there is a like a big artificial sun down there, and it looks somehow, I don't know how they set this up, but it looks just like a normal place. If you see, like the next day after I had that vision of the long neck dinosaur in inner Earth, I saw a book, Journey to Center of the Earth, and it has dinosaurs on it. And I'm like, holy crap, that was inspired by actual, you know, reality. And the other thing that I've seen on inner Earth is back in like Atlantis and Lemuria times, ancient times, I believe that you know, there was a catastrophe that kind of reset the world. We lost like everything. I believe that's when people escaped to inner Earth. So a lot of the people from ancient Atlantis and Lemuria could have started inner Earth. That's the other piece of information that I've gotten on it. So if you've been in inner Earth, you could also have a connection with one of those places.
That is super cool. I just like the whole, it's like the puzzle pieces are being fit together, and that's so, it's so healing to be able to know our true history, our true past, and come out of the sleep. I know that they had shown you something about your future, because I talked to you about, the future. They say anything about the future. And I know that, and that kind of piggies back on the question of timelines and how you see timelines. So let's talk about timelines in the future. Let's go there first before we talk about what you saw.
Yeah. So timelines and the future, so as I was learning to like access the Akashic records and everything, I practice on myself, and nothing's set in stone, but it's like a potential. It seems like there are infinite potentials depending on what we choose, but this is the highest likely course, or, and so what they've shown me for mine, and I think they are blocking me from allowing to see my future again, because I have not been able to do it lately. And I think that's on purpose. Sometimes during readings, the future will come up for them, bits and pieces of the future, but also I feel like they really want us to, and Source wants us to discover it for ourselves, and not have a preconceived notion of how it's supposed to be, because there can be infinite possibilities, although one may be more likely. But for me, I saw a stage and like curtains, red curtains, and they opened up. So I think I will be, and I've always wanted to do like a TED talk or something. I don't know if I'll do a TED talk on aliens and UFOs, but I saw a stage, and I saw a little girl, a daughter, and I saw a cabin in another country where I was living. So I'd moved to another country, and I got that I was a teacher and a healer. And whenever I saw this was a little bit ago, before I even started doing the readings. So it's what I needed to see and hear to kind of push me along, just keep going, you're going in the right direction. And yeah, I didn't see anything on like the global scale, but they have told me that it's going to be good, as long as we just focus on activating our DNA, helping everybody remember, focusing on healing ourselves. It's going to be good. It's a very complex, elaborate plan, and we know more about it than we think. Like deep down inside, we know.
Okay, gosh, that's just like opens up all these other questions. How do they connect us, or have they connected us back to Atlantis? I hear a lot that we are a lot of Atlanteans have reincarnated at this time, because this is like getting the lesson right this time, and a lot of closure from that initial trauma. Have they spoken to you about that, or have you been shown about Atlantis and now?
Yeah, not too many details on Atlantis, but that definitely resonates, because whenever I first started discovering that I had been a part of Atlantis and received some information on it, it was like we had made a mistake and things went wrong. So we're trying to fix it, basically, is what I got from it. Things went wrong. So yeah, we're trying to do it right this time.
And then I wanted to ask, and then feel free, Linda, Angela, if you have got questions coming up. But I wanted to ask then, what do you experience as the Galactic Federation? Because I feel like the Galactic Federation is like saying, the PTA. Like it's like there's so many different organizations that are linked, are beings that are linked, working on their different bits and bobs of what's going on in terms of the expansion of consciousness through density. And I'm wondering, what's your experience of the Galactic Federation?
Mm-hmm. So my experience of the Galactic Federation is similar to that. There is a big variety of different beings, and they are, closely working with humanity, and have a lot of starseeds on Earth right now. A lot of inside guys like us. They don't believe in interference. That's like they're on strict like non-interference rules, which is why, you know, a lot of people say, you know, why don't the aliens come down and save us? But, you know, that's our job, and they're helping guide us and helping to awaken us as we go. But so, yeah, their main thing is to bring peace and harmony and balance into the galaxy and probably even universe. And it's a collaboration of a ton of different beings. I've viewed some of their ships before. They always kind of stay a little bit mysterious though for me. Like they'll give me bits and pieces. But the Pleiadians who I've been seeing recently that have ships nearby, they're definitely getting more hands-on and involved, I feel like. But yeah, basically just a committee of a bunch of different ET races like Syrians, Lyrans, all different kinds that come together for galactic peace.
You've talked about in others shows what your understanding is about disclosure with them, and would love to hear more about that.
My understanding of disclosure with them,
Mhm.
as in like we are the disclosure.
Well, as in as an accepted part of society now, and oh yeah, this is normal again. You know,
Yeah.
it's starting to open up. At what point does that critical mass happen where there's just no chance of denial anymore? And they're, hey guys, we're here.
Yeah, somehow there was a Canadian, somebody political, I can't remember his name, but he announced the Galactic Federation. Somebody just this past year or last year announced the Galactic Federation in I think it was the Middle East. Somebody very political, very like the chief of something. And somehow it's not all over the news. These are very high up political people that they know. So I think a lot more people know than you know what we're led to believe.
Yeah, he was really adamant and was, you know, like, people listen up. And they just really poo-pooed him, and you know, he's just a crazy old guy.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think a few more of those, and as we continue to the frequency, I feel like everything's starting to change very, very rapidly. So I don't think it will be like too much longer. They've told me that I asked them when I could see them face to face and when they'd be on Earth with us, and they gave me 2030s. So that's
cool. We had a couple questions too. I want to make sure I get to them. Laura Holland asked about the Andosaurus. Am I saying that right?
I think she's trying to give the name of the dinosaur.
Dinosaurs? Oh, all right.
The
long-necked dinosaurs. I should know that. And the other question Nancy had, which shouldn't be typing, Nancy, because you're, well, don't type.
She might be parked.
She's driving. She wants to know, does everyone come from some other star race or group?
I think a majority do. I have heard that there are some like fresh Earth souls. And I think maybe it just depends on how much time you've spent. But really, we are all one and we're all infinite. But you can kind of tell the difference between somebody who may be more tapped into that with like their intuition, their open mind, and things like that. So I think that many do, maybe not all, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
And yeah, I think that's fair. What is, I kind of want to talk a little bit about Ascension, just because I feel like, to me, it's a little bit tired of a conversation, but I'm wondering what your like take on it is. And I feel like if you talk to as many people as you talk to, you're going to get a different take on what it is. But have your people talked to you about what Ascension is and how it looks? Or yeah.
Well, I've been experiencing some pretty crazy things the past year. So, well, for me, it's really about, shedding all of the baggage, doing the healing and allowing your true self to come through and being able to access, your divinity, your power, and being aligned with your higher self, ascending into a higher vibration, ascending into a peace and harmony, and just having access to all of your gifts and being self-actualization, really. And as we do that, our gifts begin coming online, and the gifts that everybody has is just so vastly different depending on it's so individual. So I think it'll be very individual for a lot of people, but essentially just raising up into that higher vibration, peace, love, harmony, living aligned with that, and living up to your highest potential.
What were some of the universe? Oh, go ahead, Angela.
I was just gonna say, I think once we get to that point, they won't even be perceived as gifts.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just be a normal way of being. It'll just be who you innately are, and what you do is just what you do. It won't even be a big deal. It'll just be the way of things, the new norm.
Yeah, I agree. And it's so interesting seeing everybody's, just how different everybody is. Like you were saying, just in the past week, suddenly you're like remembering you're a shaman and feeling this energy, and talking to people about this stuff. It's very different for everybody. So it's super exciting. Everybody's so unique.
And I was going to ask you, what are some of I think you touched on this a little bit, but the secrets of the universe. And I think you were looking at it around manifestation and how that works. But I'm wondering if there are any like secrets of the universe that you could pass on to us in any nuggets here.
Well, for me, that was learning that, like one of the first things that really blew my mind was that time is all happening all at once, past, present, and future. So it's like you can affect the other times. And that's how I can view other times whenever I go into meditation, and I'll try and view. It's like it's all connected, and then I'll see like an aerial view of something, and it's like the view of source. It's really interesting, but we all can access that. Some may be able to access it a little bit more easily, but since everything's all connected. And so time, that one really blew my mind. Everything being connected, everything being all one. And then yes, the manifestation is another big one. And I'm still learning. I've met ETs that say that that are other versions of me, that say that they are me from the future. So so that'd be another one, that we have some of these beings that are visiting us may actually be literally other versions of ourselves, which is really interesting.
It is. Yeah. I'm down for that. Okay, we got two. Was there anything else? I don't want to cut you off. That's it. Okay. So we had two questions from our people. Taylor asks, do you know anything about the Andromedans?
Yeah, so I've seen some Andromedans before. I've seen some that have like physical bodies. Recently, I've been working with Andromedans that are very high vibe 12D energetic beings, and it almost feels like talking with source whenever I talk with them. It's almost like they're kind of like omnipresent, and they feel like love. It's really interesting communicating with them. They're just very high vibrational, and very wise, very powerful. And the Andromedans that I've been working with lately, they've actually come down to, so they have energetic bodies, right? They don't have a physical body. Somehow they've come down to a lower vibration and are using like physical bodies to engage with Earth and to work with me more one-on-one, because they couldn't easily work with me physically on this 3D plane. So I'm finding that some Andromedans or some energetic beings can actually do that, reduce their frequency and use a physical body to work with us. But they have been teaching me, helping me to develop gifts and teaching me telekinesis, actually, moving energy with my thoughts. So they're, I really like the Andromedans. They're cool.
Have you been experimenting with moving actual objects then?
I have not yet. I just found this out like last week, but since I've been feeling their presence, and so I did an Andromeda activation a couple weeks ago on my YouTube channel, and ever since then I started getting major signs and synchronicities and hits from Andromeda, but I didn't know like who they were. I was also seeing gray faces everywhere, like gray-like alien beings. So I kept seeing these grays. I didn't know who they were. And then after the Andromeda activation, they told me like, it's the Andromedans. They were just, their normal bodies are like rainbow light bodies. So they reduced theirs and are using a gray-like body. Not a gray, but it looks similar.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes if you see a being like that looks kind of like a gray, it could actually be a 12D Andromedan. That's just a good note for people. And through the live activations, people have been reporting physical sensations, a lot of physical sensations. I've been getting emails, and even just like on the coaching calls, people have been feeling like energy coming up their arm as I'm doing kind of like they said it's kind of like I'm doing a psychic surgery on them, and moving energy through their body that in beginning to affect like the actual physical. And I was practicing it on myself, and before, and like balancing my energy, balancing my chakras, I began to actually feel it. And usually I'm a visual person. I don't usually like feel energy that much. And I was beginning to actually feel it. And I felt so much better after working at it for about 5 minutes, when usually that would take me like 3 meditations to get the job done. So this is a new evolving thing. And I'm excited to see where it goes. And I would like to start practicing on physical, on like physical objects. Another thing to note is a lot of people have reported to me dreams of having telekinesis and moving physical objects. So I think this is something, that we can actually do it, and it's beginning to, evolve.
Manifest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get another question in from one Mr. Jason Atkins, who is one of our co-hosts. Any contact with the tall whites?
Tall white grays or the tall white? I'm a little confused about who the tall whites are, because
I think there's more than one. I think there's more than one type of tall white, so that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there are like tall white grays, and then some people I think call beings that look more human-like, that have like white skin, tall whites. I've never seen them, but
Okay.
I have seen a taller white-looking gray being, and I believe they were part of a program teaching humans psychic abilities.
So you encountered someone who could fit as a tall gray or tall white, but
I haven't found an exact picture that looks like them.
Okay.
And haven't found any more information on that, but that's what I experienced. I had a dream where I was on this ship and they were teaching me. And they had kind of slantier eyes, more white, not gray skin, white skin almost. And they were teaching humans psychic abilities. And I know that was actually a memory, not just a dream.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Are you doing a lot of lucid dreaming or like astral travel in your dreams, or do you have any of that going on?
No, I don't. I've lucid dreamt twice. It's been years since I've done that. And that is something that I would like to learn and do. I keep feeling like it's not yet time to do that. Focusing on the DNA activations and learning the other gifts. But yes, that is a really good way to, connect with higher realms and manifest and all of that. So I'm looking forward to doing it one day.
Miss Angela? Did you have
I was just thinking, but I didn't really have a question. I was just processing the conversation. But now I'm curious, you do the activations. Do you ever sit and do you record the activations and do you watch the activations? Because what I've noticed is I record activations all the time. And as I record them, I go back and watch them multiple times. And what I've realized is that I'm activating myself. And I've had so many quick shifts over the past 6 months of recording activations and watching the activations that I have catapulted myself in a sense forward, kind of hypersped my evolution up, so to speak. So I was just curious if you've done that as well.
Yeah, I usually do listen to them. I haven't like rewatched them, like sat there and like watched the whole thing, but I'm going to. I usually listen to it, and I do. I always feel so much better. You can definitely feel the energy in it. And this has just been really rapidly progressing over the last few weeks with the reports of physical sensations. So that's awesome that you record activations too, and you feel like it's it probably is. So yeah, that's awesome.
I'm gonna read some feedback. Cynthia Clark says Lily's activations are powerful. The Lyran one I did, I felt tingling and almost a pressure, kind of like being held. Not sure how to quite explain, but so much love, beautiful tears. Aww. So yeah, that's a good testimony right there. Let's go ahead, Miss Lily, if you're down for it. We're talking about activations. Let's just go ahead and do one. Are you down for guiding us through?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Let me grab my bowl real quick.
All right, grab your bowl. And then if we have time, it'd be great to be able to pop in some photos. I know she shared them on other shows, but if we have time for that, it would be great to see those here as well. And yeah, we're just gonna wait for Miss Lily to get her bowl.
I was gonna say, I keep forgetting to ask what kind of camera she uses at night for photographing.
Oh, good question.
So maybe before we go into the activation, if she can address that.
That's a good question.
I know, because it's like mine undo squat.
Yeah, my phone camera doesn't catch it. It's like, yeah.
I just get musty haze if I try to take a picture at night. So does nothing. So if anybody in there in the comments has good suggestions for nighttime cameras, put it in the comments too, please.
Yeah, maybe there's an app that makes it. I feel like there's an app that someone.
I just need a new phone.
Oh, that might be it too.
Better camera too. I go till they like say you've got to get one because we're not going to support it anymore.
Oh, she's almost there. Just getting her headphones back in. Paperwork. So Miss Lily, we want to ask you, what kind of camera do you use? And if there are any apps for camera for like phones that enhance your ability to capture photos?
I use a Nikon D5300 DSLR camera. Big name. It's one of those cameras where you have interchangeable lenses. So that's what I use. I don't really use any phone apps because I take a majority of my footage on that.
Okay. Nice. Right. We just had a couple of questions about that. All right. So then take it away, Miss Lily.
Okay. So if, I play my crystal singing bowl as well. If you guys would like to just take a few deep breaths. Hopefully, can you guys hear me okay if I'm back here? Okay. You just take a few deep breaths and relax. And I can feel the Pleiadians. We ask the Pleiadians to be here with us and assist us with this activation. We ask your galactic guides to be present. And feel the energy shift as the star beings of the highest love and light join us. We would like to start by focusing on your heart center. Invoke the feeling of love. You can envision light filling your heart. And as this light and love fills your heart begins to expand. Your heart is a portal that allows better connection and better communication with your cosmic family and source. You can also envision gates in your heart. They begin to open. And as your heart opens, you allow in love, light, and healing. We allow our cosmic family into our heart to assist us with our ascension. May envision or feel one of your galactic guides, a member of your star family, now steps forward and puts their hand on your heart. Blessing it with love. And now that our heart is open and ready to receive, envision a platinum light coming down from the stars, going in through the top of your crown chakra, and slowly make its way down your forehead, down your chin. As it does this, it is cleansing, clearing, and activating. Activating your divine DNA, activating every cell in your body. This light makes its way down your throat, down your shoulders, cleansing, clearing, activating, down your biceps. Feel the surge of energy going down your arms, down your chest, opening all of your chakras along the way, down your solar plexus to your navel. Every cell in your body is beginning to vibrate. This light continues down your thighs, down your shins, to the tip of your toes. Now, with the Pleiadians' assistance, we zoom in on the cells of your body. Accessing and activating your DNA. Every cell in your body is lit up and beginning to vibrate higher. You may see a strand of DNA, your DNA, as it begins to light up and slowly twirls. As your DNA begins to activate, you will begin to access and activate more of your divine gifts. You will be able to feel a stronger connection with our source. You will be able to manifest your best life, help bring peace and harmony on earth. This activated DNA is within every cell in your body. We relax and allow this love and light and activation to do its work. Vibrating higher as the light within intensifies. We also put a protective bubble around us, platinum light, an energy barrier to help keep us protected and block out any unwanted energies. And we thank the Pleiadians for assisting us with this activation, and our galactic guides. May this light stay with you and activate you throughout your day. Sending love and gratitude to the star beings and our star families. You may come back to the physical, feeling refreshed, energized, and activated. There was a short
Nice.
bit.
No, that was good. And yeah, I'm tingling. My feet are tingling. And so you have these that you post on your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, every Sunday I do a live activation, and we'll work with different star beings. And I found working very specifically with certain groups is very, very powerful. So we've been kind of going down the line of different star beings. Last weekend we did the Pleiadians, and they usually last around like 45 minutes. We'll do a little chat in the beginning. Let me share some updates and stuff like that. And then we do an activation.
That's great.
That's what they've told me. You know, I've asked Source and the star beings, what's the number one thing I should be focusing on? And they showed me the singing bowl and said the live activations. So it's...
And you're going to be creating activation kits. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I've been envisioning these in DNA activation kits for the past year since I started communicating with these beings. Like I said, that was like the number one thing that they were showing me, telling me, and helping me do all last summer. More recently, since the Andromedans have come into my life, they've been in the Pleiadians. They've been activating my DNA again. And as they're doing this, the telekinesis and other types of gifts, there's something with the tones that I produce as well that's being activated from my Lyran heritage. And after these DNA activations, I'm going to be able to channel even more. So I'll be making DNA activation kits where it'll be kind of like a ceremony, some meditations, videos on exactly how I activated my DNA and how you can activate your gifts. And I'll be announcing those on my channels, hopefully very soon.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for those.
Well, let's wrap up with some show and tell. Do you want to show us some of your picks?
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that. I was all like blissed out, relaxed.
Yeah, I
out.
know. And I'm like, I'm just going to lay down for a little bit so you guys can wrap up the show.
Okay. Okay, let me pull them up.
Lots of messages of appreciation for your activation in the comments. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. It's just so powerful, especially whenever everybody comes together and sets the intention together. It amplifies the energy so much.
And they can find your Sunday ones on your YouTube channel. Is that where you have it?
Yes, I leave the replays up, so the energy's still there. You can still follow along. And if you feel called to a certain one, like also, it's not letting me share my screen. I think you have to let me.
Oh, I think you're right. Advance the share screen, multiple participants. So now give it a go.
Okay, I did a cleansing and clearing activation 2 weekends ago for anybody who may feel like any stuck old energy. So I found that one very, very helpful, and also a cleansing prayer to release any negative energy. So we do different things each week. So just to start, can you guys see?
Yeah, it's great.
Here's a photo of the Andromeda galaxy that I took.
Wow, you took that photo?
Yes.
Yeah. Damn.
I had to take a lot of photos and stack them all together and use like a big lens, almost like a little telescope. But yes, there's the Andromeda galaxy, and there's another little galaxy right there.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy. Okay. But that's just some other of my astrophotography. That's the Pleiades. So, well, here's like one of the best ones. This is during a CE5, a ship I captured. This is a zoomed in view. I'm not sure what this like orange, hole is, and you can see it's like moving. This thing was very fast. To give a little bit of background, this is the same photo. I set up my camera before doing a CE5 during sunset. I set up my camera to take continuous photos, and then I got in front of it and began meditating. I could feel their presence. I asked them to, appear for the camera. And if you look closely, you can see there's a ship right there that appeared. And I got it in 3 different frames, 3 photos.
Wow.
Yeah. And this picture is a little bit better of it, but yeah. And it's really strange because the first photo, it looks different in all 3 photos. You can see it like morphed, which is really interesting. It just appeared for a few seconds and then was back out, recloaked or whatever it did. So that's one of my faves. This is a photo of a light being that I caught on camera. I was meditating a lot. I could feel them around me, and I got the nudge to take a picture. And this is what came up on it. You can see the silhouette. And my jaw dropped whenever I met the Andromedans that are energetic beings, because whenever I took this picture, I didn't know exactly who it was. I figured it was ET, but I didn't know because it's like a being of light. And now, after finding out the Andromedans that are working with me they're white energetic beings with rainbows, I believe this is an Andromedan, a 12D Andromedan.
Yeah, you can see like rainbow colors around the edges on the top and bottom.
Yeah, exactly. That almost looks like a head too up there. It's really interesting.
Hmm.
And you could kind of you can feel like the energy coming off of it too. For me, at least, I can.
And if I recall, you said you took that one with your phone, right?
Yes, exactly. I took this with my phone. And this was in like an old classroom that I had been working on. This one is my second encounter. It is so this was a craft that was in front of me in the tree line, and it gives me a light beam. I was recording this. This may have been, no, I think this was on my camera. A beam of light appears from this craft.
So are we looking at 4 little crafts?
I'm
Or
not
is that-
100% sure. What?
Okay.
No, I think it was at least one, possibly two.
2 crafts?
Yeah, I think it was one though. So, or two. It was really dark. I did get some photos of it, but in the photos it looks different. It was like phasing in and out of the reality. It's really hard to explain, but it was like pitch black. I was in my car about probably 50 feet. This thing was about 50 feet in front of me, and just suddenly I saw lights that weren't there before in the tree line. And so I saw there were UFOs in every direction, in the tree lines and on the horizon in every direction, and even some in the field. This was my second encounter ever. So they were like surrounding me, and I just started recording them. So I don't know exactly. I think that it was 2, but I'm not 100% sure because it looks different in all of the photos. It was like phasing in and out. Yeah.
Okay.
I recorded it for like hours. It was really crazy. And I'm like, there's cornfields surrounding me. Like there's nothing around me at the time.
Okay.
And this is an orb. So sometimes they can appear as orbs or like golden orbs. It's like they are projecting their consciousness or using some sort of a technology. They can appear as orbs. And so whenever I started doing daytime CE5s, I would catch them by the sun a lot. It's like you could see them better in the sun. So they may not come to you as a physical ship. They can also come to you as an orb or some sort of a light anomaly. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but that's what they can do. So this is a really beautiful orb that I caught. I'll just go ahead and play it. So those, you can see the other orbs by the sun.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and then here's a big one right there. And I
Oh
zoom
wow.
in. Yeah, I zoom in on it and slow down.
Oh wow. Oh, that's beautiful.
Isn't that crazy?
It was like this shape of this light shape that was twirling.
Mhm.
Oh God, that's so pretty. It's like a pyramid. It's like a light pyramid that's twirling through the sky.
Ooh, yeah.
That's what I'm seeing. Do you
Yeah.
know the other funny thing is that the cloud on the left as it goes up, it looks like the profile of a man smiling. Like,
Oh my gosh.
does that not
They,
look like, yeah, go down, right?
It does.
Right there.
Right
That
there.
it looks
Yeah.
like the eyes, the nose, and there's a smile. It's
oh yeah.
maybe got a beard.
They did communicate through the clouds with me a lot. I wish I've got a picture of like their faces in the clouds. They've done that for me
Oh,
before. Yeah, I don't know exactly. I'd have to like find it.
that's okay. Next time, part 2.
But that's another way that they can communicate with you is through the clouds. So you may see like a cloud shaped ship, or they used to give me hearts in the clouds a lot. So they can do all sorts of weird, cool things. So don't ever dismiss it. If you get an intuitive hit and think that they are communicating with you, they are most likely. This is another CE5 where I started taking a time lapse of myself, and I got two little black triangles that appeared just for a split second. They weren't in any of the other photos, and it kind of looks like there's like a portal opening up or something.
Some kind of stream that they're riding on.
Yeah,
Interesting.
very. The pictures of them and just seeing how these craft in what they can do, it defies all logic. It's very very metaphysical.
Yeah, it defies our 3D physics models.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
And that's
just,
what is making it so slow for people to like get on board with it. But
yeah.
So that's about it. I'll show you guys
Awesome.
one more. There's a
Okay.
Pleiadian woman that I drew.
Oh,
visited
Ahara.
me. Yeah. Yeah, she was very sweet. She gave me a message to humanity. And this is a being who told me after the message, I was like, well, who are you? You know, I want to know more about who you are. She gave me her name and she said that she was me from the future.
Oh,
So she's a Pleiadian woman.
so pretty. I love the little braids on the sides.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, and I guess that's it.
Okay, awesome, fantastic. Well, we had one last question, I think, here from Jason. Let's see. I'm wondering how her family has reacted to her awareness of self and these energies.
Well, I haven't talked to my stepdad in about a year and a half, but my mom is cool. And my brother and sister, they kind of were giving me crap in the beginning. They made fun of me a bit, didn't believe me. But as I continued with it, and now I'm sure they could see the transformation, you know, before their eyes. Now they're cool. And my mom's always been, you know, whatever makes me happy. Now she's like using sage and going to see psychics. So it's, you know, starting to affect them as well. But at first it was tough for sure.
Yeah, I imagine you've probably transformed a lot in your personality and your persona, and they probably can't deny that. That's what I'm getting from what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And plus I'm so confident before, maybe, you know, I was trying to convince people or, you know, trying to explain some things you just can't explain to some people because they're not ready to get it. So you might as well just not say it, you know, not say
right.
Save yourself some trouble. So I learned that, and then I feel like it works a lot better whenever they just see you and how you carry yourself and you know, sticking it to it and staying dedicated.
Yeah, that you're staying true to it. It's not a flight of fancy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any last messages from your heart to the hearts of our audience before we do our gratitudes and wrap it up?
I would like to say that everybody, if you are watching to this, if you are called to the stars or even intuitive, you're called to personal development, and you have a star family and you are a starseed, and they, even though sometimes it may feel like we're all alone down here, and we're not, we're never alone. we have a lot of very beautiful beings who are looking out for us and just waiting for you and urging you to remember, who you truly are. So, yeah, so just remember that and know that you have a star family that loves you very, very much. And you can connect with them and ask for guidance from them as well.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Your energy, you're just so genuine. Just, like you're just so pure of heart. It's just, it's beautiful to see. So I have flipped us into gallery view, Brady Bunch mode, and I'm going to toss the mic to Miss Linda so we can do our gratitudes.
Well, again, our salon members, thank you so much for adding just your wonderful essence to our live stream chats. And it would not be the same if you weren't here with us. So thank you from all of us. Make sure that you check out the links below for both Lily and Angela. And don't forget that Lily has her activations tomorrow. And with that, and make sure you like, share, subscribe if you haven't. It's not too late. It's never too late. And join our Facebook group. So with that, thank you both for coming. And Kat, I'm going to turn over to you to find out about next week.
Absolutely. Thank you. And also just FYI, if you didn't know, we do have a donation button as well. So that's up at the top of on our page, but it's in our links below too. So that always helps us as well. So next week, we are going to be speaking with Vivian Chevet. I think is how you say her name. It's French. She's from Canada, but she's actually from Arcturus. So she's an Arcturian, Arcturian hybrid, and she identifies her dad as being Arcturian, straight up. So, and she's an intergalactic channel. She has been sharing her stories for a while now, but it's going to be the first time we've had her on the salon. So super excited to have her with us and to learn her stories. And I just love seeing all the pieces, like what Lily talked about today is going to connect to something that Vivian's going to speak about, like all the threads coming together as the tapestry reveals itself and the stories unfold. So with that, we love you all so much. Thank you. Be good to yourself, be good to others, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.